What's really hiding behind Greenland's giant ice wall? The Inuit have known for generations, but somehow the rest of the world was never supposed to know. And once you see why, it all starts to make sense. Greenland hides a secret so massive that it stretches over 1,800 miles long and towers hundreds of feet into the sky. Yet somehow, this colossal structure barely makes the news. We're talking about the legendary ice wall, not some fantasy from a TV show, but a real geographical feature that's been staring us in the face for centuries. Kind of makes you wonder what else they're not telling us about. Maybe Santa's workshop really is up there. The first documented encounters with this ice barrier date back to Norse explorers who called it Gardarsholm, the fortress of ice. Their stories described it as the edge where the world falls away, suggesting they viewed it as more than just frozen water. What's odd is how these accounts gradually disappeared from history books. By the 1700s, detailed descriptions were scrubbed from official records, replaced with vague mentions of impassable ice fields. Looks like someone hit the delete button on history a few centuries early. When explorers visited Greenland in the 1920s, they reported something unusual. The ice wall didn't behave like normal glaciers. Parts of it remained fixed year after year, while other sections shifted in patterns that defied standard ice movement. Talk about the world's biggest editor with the world's smallest pencil. Their 300 pages of observations became one tiny footnote. Temperatures behind certain sections of the ice wall have been measured at up to 32 degrees warmer than they should be. Weather balloons in the 1950s recorded these puzzling warm zones, but the data was quickly hidden under military projects. Apparently, the only thing colder than the ice wall is the government's response when you ask questions about it. The Inuit people have passed down knowledge about what's beyond the wall for over 40 generations. Their word Akilinek specifically refers to green valleys and strange stone structures that their ancestors visited. When researchers dismissed these stories, one elder simply smiled and said, "We don't need to convince you of places we've already been." That's the ancient equivalent of PICS, or it didn't happen, getting shut down hard. Since 1957, 7 international trips planned to study the wall were suddenly canceled due to funding issues. Guess the universe has a very specific way of saying nope. Next time you see a satellite image of Greenland with those convenient blurry patches, ask yourself why our super advanced technology can't give us a clear picture. Even my phone camera from 5 years ago takes better photos. What exactly are we not supposed to see? This massive wall of ice might just be hiding something far more interesting than frozen water. Have you ever tried to look at Greenland on Google Earth? Go ahead, zoom in on the middle areas. Notice how some sections suddenly get fuzzy or show strange pixelation. This isn't just bad photography. Over 20% of Greenland's interior appears this way across multiple mapping platforms. The satellite apparently develops instant cataracts whenever it passes over the most interesting parts. Maps from the 1600s tell a different story. The Mercator Atlas showed detailed coastlines behind what we now call the ice wall. The Peary Race map from 1513 included terrain features in Greenland that modern maps claim are buried under miles of ice. These old map makers must have had some serious psychic abilities, or maybe they actually saw what was there. When Danish explorers created the first modern map of Greenland in 1888, they included notes about peculiar stone formations and unexplained warm valleys in areas now marked as uninhabitable ice sheet. Within 10 years, these features disappeared from updated versions. The official explanation? Correction of earlier mistakes. But 16 different exploration teams had confirmed these features. That's a lot of people making the exact same mistake. Here's where things get truly strange. Military maps from the Cold War era show something called Zone NP8 in central Greenland. This zone doesn't appear on civilian maps at all. Declassified documents mention it contained anomalous geographical features requiring special clearance. What features could possibly need security clearance? Maybe the ice is hiding the world's largest collection of embarrassing baby photos. The blurry zones create perfect squares on satellite images, a pattern impossible in nature. When digital mapping experts examined these areas, they found evidence of deliberate pixel manipulation. One programmer from a major university discovered that attempting to enhance these sections triggered an automatic decrease in resolution, a feature not present in any other parts of the global mapping system. Flight paths tell another story. Commercial airlines never cross central Greenland despite it being the shortest route between certain cities. The official reason is dangerous weather conditions, yet military flights routinely use these routes. Apparently, military planes have magical weather-resistant technology that passenger jets haven't discovered yet. What exactly are these blurry zones hiding? The pattern of censorship becomes clearer when we look at what lies beneath the ice. Why would a place covered in ice have hot spots? This question bothered researchers when they found temperatures of 55 degrees Fahrenheit under sections of Greenland's ice sheet. That's warm enough to grow tomatoes. Apparently, Mother Nature didn't get the memo that everything in Greenland should be frozen. Let's look at the facts. Ice core samples taken from central Greenland contain something impossible: pollen. Not from ancient times, but from plants that would have grown there within the last 200 years. When this discovery was published in 1998, the paper mysteriously disappeared from scientific journals within months. The ice itself tells a strange story. In normal glaciers, ice forms in layers, with each winter adding a new sheet on top. But radar scans of Greenland show large sections where the ice forms from the bottom up. This means something underneath is melting and refreezing the ice. What could possibly generate that much heat under more than a mile of solid ice? Drilling expeditions have hit unexpected voids. A Russian team drilling in eastern Greenland in 2005 struck what they described as an air pocket of significant size at a depth where crushing pressure should make such spaces impossible. Their equipment recorded a temperature of 41 degrees inside this cavity before communication with the drill was lost. The drill probably decided to stay in the warm cave rather than return to the freezing surface. Smart drill. Water samples from deep ice cores contain microscopic freshwater algae that need sunlight to survive. The official explanation states these are contamination from the surface, but the algae species found don't exist anywhere on Greenland's surface. They must have come from somewhere else, somewhere under the ice. The strangest evidence comes from sound. Seismic monitors placed across Greenland's ice sheet have picked up what experts call acoustic anomalies. Essentially, echoes where there shouldn't be any. These echoes match the patterns that would be created by large open spaces beneath the ice. When mapped, these spaces form interconnected networks spanning hundreds of miles. One report from a 1979 expedition described finding a frozen waterfall inside a glacier, but flowing upward, as if water had shot up from below before freezing. The expedition leader noted that the surrounding ice contained embedded plants and even insect remains, suggesting the water came from an ecosystem that shouldn't exist. Why does this matter? Because these warm spots are growing. Satellite thermal imaging shows 17% more heat signatures under Greenland than 15 years ago. The ice isn't just melting from global warming above, something below is eating away at it too. The Inuit people have lived in the Arctic for over 5,000 years. Their stories describe a very different Greenland than what we see today. They speak of the Kimiat Nuna, land of dogs, a place of green valleys and strange stone buildings beyond the great ice. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as myths and fairy tales. Western experts were too busy writing their own fairy tales called research papers to listen. 87% of Inuit tales include specific landmarks that match geological features now buried under ice. How could they describe mountains and lakes they supposedly never saw? Their legends mention a great stone path running through central Greenland. In 1972, radar imaging revealed what appears to be a perfectly straight line beneath the ice, almost like a road or wall. The Inuit hunting song Akilinek Ujarsut translates to the stone houses beyond. It describes buildings with walls that touch the clouds and doors no man can lift. When asked about these structures, modern Inuit elders explain their ancestors didn't build them, they found them. According to their oral history, these buildings were ancient when the first Inuit arrived. Their stories describe creatures living beneath the ice, not monsters or gods, but real animals unknown in the Arctic. They speak of colorful birds and small furry animals that dig holes in the ground, behaviors more typical of temperate climates than frozen tundra. Maybe these weren't hallucinations from eating expired whale blubber after all. Most interesting are the Inuit maps. Drawn on sealskin and whalebone, These maps show routes through Greenland that would be impossible today, unless the ice wasn't always there. Tests on these artifacts date some to 800 years ago, yet they depict areas now under 2 miles of ice with remarkable accuracy. The Kiviak scrolls, preserved by Inuit families for 12 generations, describe a journey across Greenland through the Valley of Warm Winds. The route matches exactly with one of the thermal anomalies detected in 1996. How did they know this warm spot was there without modern technology? When modern research finally caught up, the truth became clear. DNA studies of Inuit populations show genetic markers typically found in inland, not coastal peoples. This suggests their ancestors lived inland, in areas now completely covered by ice. Their stories weren't fantasies, but memories preserved through countless generations. 42% of Inuit place names in Greenland refer to features that should be impossible to see, yet match perfectly with what's been discovered under the ice. Their ancestors must have had really good memories or really good underground tours. These ancient stories continue to challenge our understanding of Greenland's history. While modern science rushes to explain away these coincidences, the Inuit simply nod knowingly. They've been patiently waiting for thousands of years for the rest of us to catch up to what they already knew. Why would the world's most powerful military spend billions of dollars on a frozen wasteland? In 1960, the U.S. launched Operation Iceworm, supposedly to build missile sites under Greenland's ice sheet. The official story claimed these bases would protect America during the Cold War, but something doesn't add up. The project employed over 2,000 personnel and used specialized equipment designed for deep ice penetration. Yet only 21% of the budget went toward actual missile facilities. The military spent more money digging holes in ice than most countries spend on their entire defense systems. Declassified documents reveal strange requirements. Workers needed special psychological evaluations labeled XK clearance, a security designation not used for any other military project before or since. The evaluation tested how people would react to unexpected discoveries of non-geological origin. What exactly were they expecting to find under the ice? Camp Century, the most famous iceworm base, featured some odd design choices. Despite being built under ice, it included specialized containment areas with radiation shielding and biohazard equipment. The official explanation claimed these were for nuclear power safety, but the documents show the containment facilities were built first, before the nuclear reactor even arrived. The strangest part? Location. Camp Century was constructed directly above one of Greenland's thermal anomalies, the exact spot where ice-penetrating radar had detected unusual cavities. Maps from the planning phase show they deliberately chose this spot despite engineering reports warning against it due to unstable ice conditions. They wanted to be above that warm zone for some reason. Drill cores from the operation were immediately classified. When finally released in 2017, many sections were missing. The military claimed these cores were damaged during storage. 87 core samples, all from the same depth range, coincidentally ruined? Those must have been some clumsy storage handlers dropping exactly the most interesting pieces. Radio transmissions from Camp Century, declassified in 1991, contain unexplained code phrases. Teams repeatedly referenced chariot artifacts and blue visitor protocols. No military dictionary or code book from that era explains these terms. The project was suddenly abandoned in 1966. The official reason? Ice instability. Yet the base was designed to compensate for ice movement. The real clue comes from shipping manifests. In the weeks before evacuation, the military flew in 54 specialized containment vessels designed for biological transport. They flew out with something. But what? Denmark, which controls Greenland, wasn't informed about the true scope of Iceworm until decades later. When they requested the full operation records in 2014, the U.S. claimed many documents were lost in a convenient archive fire. The world's best military somehow can't figure out fireproof filing cabinets. Whatever the military discovered beneath Greenland's ice alarmed someone important. The whole operation raises questions that many people dismiss as crazy talk. But when the military spends billions to dig under ice and then runs away with mysterious containers, maybe the crazy ideas deserve a second look. Talking about what might be happening in Greenland often gets you labeled as crazy. Three main theories keep popping up: the hollow Earth idea, lost ancient civilizations, and hidden advanced technology. Before rolling your eyes, consider how many ridiculous ideas turned out to be true throughout history. The hollow Earth theory suggests our planet isn't solid all the way through, but contains large habitable spaces inside. Sounds like science fiction, right? But radar mapping of Greenland has revealed enormous cave systems under the ice, some big enough to fit entire cities. In 2007, ground-penetrating scans found a chamber roughly 8 miles across beneath central Greenland. That's not just a cave, that's downtown Manhattan with room for parking. When discussing lost civilizations in Greenland, skeptics quickly point out how impossible it would be for anyone to live there. Yet core samples have found traces of processed metals, including copper and a strange aluminum alloy, in layers dating back 12,000 years, long before humans were supposed to know how to work with such materials. Even more puzzling, these samples show evidence of tool marks and deliberate shaping. The strangest evidence comes from the 1947 photographs taken during Arctic mapping expeditions. Several images show what appear to be geometric shapes under thin ice, perfect squares and rectangles that don't occur naturally. When these photos resurfaced in the 1990s, experts dismissed them as camera errors or ice formations. Yet similar shapes have now been spotted by satellite imagery. 76% of cultures worldwide have legends about advanced ancient societies that vanished suddenly. Most describe these civilizations as having technology beyond even what we have today. While easy to dismiss as myths, it's harder to explain why isolated cultures across the planet share such similar stories. The technology theory might seem the most far-fetched. Why would advanced tech be hidden in Greenland of all places? Consider this. Ice is nature's perfect preservation system. Items buried in ice remain almost unchanged for thousands of years. If someone wanted to preserve something important, whether ancient knowledge or advanced devices, burying it in Earth's largest island of ice makes perfect sense. What these theories share is a troubling pattern. Those who investigate too deeply often find their funding cut, their reputations attacked, or their findings buried. One researcher who discovered unusual radiation readings in northern Greenland in 2012 had his entire department shut down just weeks after filing his report. Guess his discovery was radioactive to his career too. Many ideas that seemed crazy in the past are now accepted facts. Continental drift was once considered nonsense. The idea of washing hands to prevent disease was laughed at. Ancient Troy was just a myth until someone actually found it. Yesterday's nut job is often tomorrow's Nobel Prize winner. As strange as these theories might sound, the rush to claim Greenland's resources is very real. Countries aren't just interested in the melting ice, they're racing to control what might be revealed underneath. Everyone talks about how bad melting ice is for the planet, but not everyone seems upset about Greenland's ice disappearing. In fact, some powerful groups are quietly celebrating. Let's look at the numbers. Greenland's ice is melting 6 times faster today than it was in the 1990s. We're told this is an environmental disaster, and for most of us, it absolutely is. Rising sea levels threaten coastal cities worldwide. Yet behind closed doors, certain governments and corporations view this melting as an opportunity rather than a crisis. 5 nations have already submitted claims to portions of Greenland that aren't even visible yet. These claims were filed based on geological surveys of areas still under ice. How convenient to claim land that nobody can check yet. It's like calling dibs on birthday presents while they're still wrapped. What's driving this ice rush? The official story points to minerals and oil. Greenland supposedly contains rare earth elements worth trillions of dollars. But here's where things get strange. The mining claims don't match known mineral deposit patterns. Companies are spending billions to secure rights to areas that geological surveys suggest contain few valuable resources. Military activity around Greenland has increased by 340% since 2005. This includes installation of new monitoring stations, increased submarine patrols, and construction of specialized research facilities, all focused on areas where the ice is thinning fastest. The public explanation is climate research, but the equipment being installed has little to do with weather monitoring. Leaked diplomatic cables reveal an odd phrase repeated in discussions about Greenland: first access protocols. No official document explains what these protocols involve, but they appear in connection with areas where unusual structures have been detected beneath the ice. Here's something truly bizarre. The same companies investing in Greenland mining rights have simultaneously funded studies questioning whether climate change is even real. They deny climate change exists with one hand while filling out paperwork to claim land that's only valuable if the ice melts with the other. That's like saying you don't believe in birthdays while shopping for birthday cards. Satellite imagery from 2018 captured something unexpected: deliberate ice-clearing operations in remote areas of Greenland. Large heated platforms were placed directly on the ice, creating perfectly circular melt pools. The official explanation claimed these were research stations studying ice melt patterns. But why study ice melting by deliberately melting it in perfect circles? Most telling is how international agreements about Greenland have changed. Until 2010, treaties focused on environmental protection. Newer agreements emphasize resource rights and jurisdictional authority over newly exposed land. 81 pages of the most recent Arctic Treaty deal with how to establish ownership of revealed artifacts or structures of unknown origin. Why the sudden interest in ownership rules for things not yet discovered? Perhaps because some groups already know what the vanishing ice will reveal. Getting the truth about Greenland gets harder every year. Access to key areas has been restricted under the excuse of environmental protection. Funny how these protected zones match exactly with spots where unusual readings have been detected. It's like putting a wet paint sign on the one door that leads to something interesting. Travel permits for independent researchers are denied at record rates. Since 2015, 87% of non-government expedition requests for central Greenland have been rejected. They're guarding that ice like it's the recipe for Grandma's secret cookies, except Grandma probably isn't hiding ancient technology under her kitchen floor. Information control extends beyond physical access. Satellite images of Greenland routinely suffer from technical glitches that just happen to affect the most mysterious regions. 4 separate whistleblowers from mapping agencies have described receiving orders to blur certain coordinates. All 4 lost their jobs within months of speaking out. The scientific community plays along too. Papers discussing Greenland anomalies face extraordinary scrutiny, while conventional views sail through peer review. Apparently, peer review means make sure it doesn't rock the boat so hard that secrets fall out. Even online, information disappears. Forums discussing Greenland mysteries experience strange technical problems. Videos showing anomalous structures get taken down for community guideline violations. The internet remembers everything except when it comes to Greenland. Then, it suddenly develops amnesia. We face a troubling reality. The people controlling access to Greenland are the same ones who would have the most to lose if certain discoveries became public knowledge. As the ice continues to melt and more secrets emerge, ordinary people must keep asking questions and sharing information before it disappears. The truth about what's really behind the ice wall may be the biggest discovery in human history, if we're ever allowed to know it.